Welcome into another edition of Gurus on Reality, where we break down Survivor 49, Mike Testa, Xavier Aguiar. This was episode 7 of Survivor 49. And did it save the season? We'll get into that in a little bit. But Mike, how are you doing? We did a great pod yesterday and some really great action in the NBA, but Survivor really picking up the pace here.
It really did pick up the pace. I mean, yeah, you talk about our episode yesterday that we did. We were off air. We were kind of dunking on like the bad teams in the NBA. And it was a fun night in the NBA, but Survivor really took precedent yesterday. That was we had some stuff picking up. We had some drama, some intrigue. The merge is here. Overall, I think it was probably the best episode of the season, which is a very low bar. It wasn't saying much, but solid episode. I mean, we got the merge and we got some drama and some intrigue, which is all you can ask for.
So I just want to get into it because most of the time on Thursdays, I look forward to just really dumping on this show. And for once, I'm excited to actually analyze what was in front of us. And we did talk about doing live streams of the season. I was a little bit busy yesterday, but hopefully going forward, we will be able to do that. But let's just get into it. So but before we begin with the actual episode, I want to tell you this anecdote. So yesterday, I told my girlfriend, who's on the other side of the country, so she's 3 hours behind. She's in Eugene. And I was telling her, like, oh, I'm watching Survivor. This episode's finally good. And her response was, yeah, I'm really excited to watch more of Savannah and Sophie's tribe. I really like them. And in my head, I was like, oh, you did not see the previews or our last episode, but that's okay. No. Maybe she could be a little bit more of a fan of the Gurus here. But regardless, this episode starts with a merge, which is why I brought that up. And I thought it came at a fine time. I would have liked it maybe an episode or two prior. I think this season really needed it. I thought the swaps were getting a little bit redundant. They were losing a little bit of its luster, but I thought the merge here was fine. Immediately, what we get ready to watch is Sage, Jawan, and Steven. They are game planning. They're like, okay, a merge is happening. How are we going to get our story straight? Which I thought was a fun little opener, a tease to the episode. Mike, here's where they lost me. They lost me instantly. I've never been so lost in my life. The other tribes, now that they're all individuals, they get to the beach, they come on the boats, and they're up kind of where the base of the camp was. And they're like, what do we do? Do we go down?
They're not even on the beach.
What's happening here? Right. They don't even know what to do. And I thought that panic was kind of telling. It seemed like no one else picked up on this, that it was kind of strange that it took forever for these people to kind of emerge from the wilderness. It felt like a Tarzan clip where these three people, one after another, just slowly venture down to the beach. So to me, that's red flag number one. Mike, I just want to talk about this immediately. This is the second red flag. This story is ridiculous. And it's easy to say from our couch, and we're not there. We're not food deprived. We're not in the scorching Fiji heat. But this story that they craft, Jawan, Sage, and Steven, is that Shannon lost her mind. That she just went crazy. In the day that she wasn't around anyone else on these prior two tribes, she lost her mind. Now, Shannon has won a lot of comps, okay? She has been on the winning side of a lot of votes. It's not like she was a Sophie with an eye who was on the bottom, completely exhausted, didn't have any semblance of food. Shannon was in a power position for much of this game, and then she just inexplicably lost her mind. And I was like, okay, if I was crafting a narrative, this is kind of the only one I could possibly justify to get Shannon evicted, is that she lost her mind. She was just so ridiculous that we had to get rid of her. We did all of you a favor by getting rid of her. I cannot believe they bought that. And by they, I mean Nate and Savannah, because Mike, I told you off air before we started, as this was unfolding, I laughed. I laughed when they shared this story. It felt too synchronous. It felt blatantly obvious what they were doing. And then it pans to Nate. He's the first one who's like, yeah, I mean, good. I mean, they had to get around. And Savannah's like, oh, yeah, like, it happens. Like, oh, I can't believe she went crazy on him, but, it's going to happen. Yeah, what did you think of this exchange? Because I was actively losing my mind that Savannah and Nate in particular were buying this hook, line, and sinker.
I was shocked they bought it. By the way, Rizzo bought it too. All three of them were like, all right, well, we'll just be old Uli again. I was shocked that they bought it, but I almost wonder now, looking back on it, if they just needed the numbers. Like, I don't think they actually cared who went home per se. It happened to be Shannon. If it was Sage, I think it would be the same thing. They'd have to get their stories right. So you didn't like the bottoms up alliance that they created 5 seconds before they got to the beach? It's like, hey, let's create an alliance, the 3 of us, bottoms up, and let's not go down to the beach. Let's be very awkward and stand in our own little castle here. It was very strange, but I do think from Savannah, Rizzo, and Nate's perspective, they kind of just needed to reunite old Uli, regardless of how bad the story was. I'm shocked they bought it. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, that was a decent story at all. But I think that Savannah, Nate, and Rizzo just simply knew that they had Sophie with them, Blue Sophie with an I. So that was 4, and they needed to rekindle the rest of old Uli. So they were hoping probably three Ulis were still standing, and Steven was voted out. Obviously, you saw Nate in the confessional was like, wait, Steven's still here? What? So I think he was obviously hoping to get all 6 Reds and then Blue Sophie that they adopted to kind of run the merge as 7 strong. Obviously, it didn't even matter because they had 2 double agents anyways. Sage and Jawan were never working with them, clearly. And that's evident from the start of the episode. They're like, hey, we're ready to jump ship. So even if they had Shannon there, or if Steven flipped, it wouldn't even matter really because the other 2 were working for OG Hina and that other side of the camp. So obviously, I'm shocked that they brought the story, but I think and you see Savannah talking to Sage, she's like, "It's okay, I'm not mad at you." I think she just wanted to keep her as a number and be like, "Hey, we can still work together, right? We're still good, right?" So she's just trying to kind of save face. I'm not sure that whether or not they could totally trust Sage and Jawan, well, no one really knows because they hadn't been on their beach for a while now. At least Sage has, and Sage had 2 different tribe swaps before the OG Uli, so she really has never worked with
Mike,
them.
as did Shannon, which I think is the only reason why this worked. They technically hadn't been around Shannon in
like
a while,
week. Yeah.
So I think they could have perceived that they only knew her for a few days, realistically.
Right.
So they could have perceived that this happened. Sage was by far the closest to her, so I think Sage, as the speaker here, the narrator of this story, kind of adds a little bit more credibility to it. So I do kind of understand. I just think the actual story, the kind of harmony that Jawan was adding to it and Steven just kind of nodding along, it felt rehearsed to me. It felt so inauthentic. And again, we have the hindsight of knowing. I don't want to discount that whatsoever. But come on. Come on. And again, as you mentioned, it was more out of necessity, I'm sure. Like, they kind of had to buy the story one way or the other because they're like, we have to work with you. So whether you're telling us the truth or not, we don't really care. But
I don't think they want to work with them, but they have to.
Yes, but here's the thing, Mike, and we'll get into this throughout the breakdown. If they were able to sniff out that this story was fake, they could have at least laid the groundwork to make a plan to kind of salvage what they had. And they were so oblivious to how bad this story was, they weren't able to do that.
100% agree. By the way, we'll get into it. I don't think that was even the worst part of that side of the alliance in this episode. There was
it gets worse.
Issues with that side of the alliance that you could unfold because they could have still salvaged this despite all of that and despite buying that awful story hook, line, and sinker. They could have still salvaged the episode. And I was heading into tribal council thinking that they could have still done it, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, we totally agree there. I was shocked that. Here's the thing: if you want to break down a story and whether it's credible or not, you don't do it all in like a picnic aspect here. It's like we'll all talk about as a tribe. You go to each one individually. It's like, hey, Steven, what happened yesterday? And then you go and pull in Jawan separately by himself. Hey, Jawan, what happened yesterday? Then you pull in Sage and say, what happened yesterday? You get 3 different perspectives, not as a group collectively where they're all nodding their head and they're like, yep, that's what happened. That's what happened. You got to get 3 different stories and make sure that they all make sense in your eyes. And it didn't look like anyone did that. It looked like they were all just kind of being like, hey, let's just stick OG Uli strong. I know you guys kept Steven here, but let's just kick him to the side. Jawan, you're going to run out Steven, right? Even though you didn't do it last night, you'll just run him out, right? It was very oblivious, and I think that was one of the major downfalls for that side of the house.
Yeah, and the problem with the Survivor as akin to a big brother, this is just an edit. So possibly they could have done that, but I highly doubt it. I feel like it would have had to have made the episode. Let's shift gears now to Sage, who had a massive episode. It started with this. They did the thing that they've done in past modern seasons of the show, where as soon as merge happens, they do these weird advantage things for the challenges. I don't really like it.
We know what the advantage is, by the way. We know what it is. Every season.
Yeah, every time, by the way. There's some variants of it, but usually it's just the same thing, which is you don't have to participate in part 1 of a 2-part challenge. I think it's a little bit ridiculous. I think if the right person wins it, it'd be super annoying. I think we were fortunate that Sage won it, who is a just terrible competitor. I think if it was someone like a Steven or an Alex, this would have been completely broken Because as they mentioned, and Steven talks about it multiple times when he was up in the challenge, and then after he got eliminated, he was like, yeah, I was sweating profusely. I couldn't grip the little platform that he was holding. Right. I couldn't grip it. Now, if you're someone off to the side, you don't have to participate in that grueling first part, you don't have to worry about that. You're fine. You have a massive advantage. So I think, in a way, it's a little bit too much of an advantage for such a chance thing. I don't like it. I've never liked it.
I don't like it either.
But because Sage won it, it didn't matter. But that doesn't mean it doesn't stink either.
No, I knew she was going to win that challenge. Because, by the way, every single Mergatory, and we'll get to the challenge, is the same thing. You're pulling them up. You're pulling them all the teammates up. You got to do a puzzle at the end. It's the same. It's the same exact challenge every year for the Mergatory, where one side gets the merge feast, where it used to be everyone gets the merge feast. Now it's just like 6 of them or 5 of them get it. And then obviously the second stage is always balancing a ball on a pole. It's every time. We saw Kyle and Sue. We saw it's every time. So they're not changing that aspect of the puzzle, but usually it's always a small girl that does well. So I knew Sage had no chance. She's like one of the bigger girls here. So I was like, she won't win this. It's balanced. It's going to be one of the two.
She's also shown no ability in any challenge we've seen.
In any challenges. So I knew she was going to win. And I was like, okay, she gets to eat. That's all that she gets to do because she's not going to win the second part of the challenge. So I never thought it was that big of an advantage as far as like actually winning immunity because it's not going to be. It's always balanced this early portion. We know this. We've watched enough early merge challenges to know it's mostly balancing and mostly has something to do with a ball. And Sage obviously has shown no competency in any challenges, but I knew this one was especially not going to be for her. So. I just don't like the actual chance thing where it's like, hey, you got to find something and unlock a key just to eat the merge feast and not have to participate in this grueling challenge that they do every year. It's just it doesn't really affect the game to me. Like it doesn't actually, unless the right person won it, which in this case no one did really. So it was just kind of a nothing, whatever. She won it, good for her, good episode for her, but doesn't actually affect the game.
Mike, I think it's an overrated episode for her, and here why. We're going to do a little numbers game, okay? So this is the next part of the episode. You mentioned it off rip, that Jawan and Sage are playing the roles of double agents. So there's 11 people left, okay? So OG Uli presumes that they have a 6-5 advantage. Mike, let's do a game. If 2 people defect from the 6, what is that new number on the other side?
That would be 7 on the other side, right? 7-4.
Okay. If you are on the bottom of 6... are you higher or lower than at the bottom of 7?
You would be lower in this scenario.
So why in the world did these 2 flip? It makes no sense.
I know.
I was sitting here, and I remember I told you last week when we did this. I sniffed this immediately.
Jawan's in the middle,
in an amazing position. He's in the middle, but he is in a very key position that I think can really propel him in this game. And I qualified that with after, and I said he could do either thing. But I said, well, it would just make sense if he did OG Uli for a little while. It just propels him later in the game. He has a free ride to like the top 6 or 7.
Sure.
What does he do? He in his mind tries to cosplay as this amazing Survivor player, this Boston Rob, this Russell, this Poverty, this Sari, whoever you want to list, Tony, whoever. He's trying to embody this player that makes a big move, does this big thing, turns the game on its head. Dummy, you were in a good position. You were fine.
I know.
You were literally fine. By being probably 5th on the totem pole in a 6-person alliance with 11 people left, you're in the top half of the game. And a lot can change.
Correct.
Obviously, if you look at the infrastructure of Nate and Savannah and Rizzo, do you really think they're going to be some happy family the rest of the game? One of them will probably turn on each other and you can sliver through. I know he wants to build a resume. I truly understand that. But it felt like to me that Jawan was trying to make a move for the sake of a move, and Sage is just bitter and scorned and just trying to like have this mastermind edit is basically what I was gathering from this. But Jawan more so in the situation, I thought was just out of touch with reality this entire episode.
By the way, Sage wants to get rid of any OG Uli woman because apparently she hates all of them. Shannon, she hates. Savannah, she hates. So she wants to get rid of all of them.
She hates that they were nice to her. God forbid.
Right. Jawan, I think, actually had some relationships with that side of that. I mean, him and Nate were kind of vibing. Rizzo likes him. We talked about this on previous episodes. Rizzo is not anti-Jawan. Only Savannah's really anti-Jawan on that side.
And I don't think Jawan knows Savannah is as anti-Jawan as she is. I think he has perceived the entire time that they're tight too.
He's perceived that he's on the bottom of them, so to speak. Like he knows that Nate, Savannah, and Rizzo are tight, but I also do believe he thinks that himself, Rizzo, and Nate are tight. Ultimately, what he does is he's like, I know I'm on the bottom of this tribe, and I'm going to flip. But again, he's also not really he doesn't have any social standing with like I said last week, the Christinas of the world, the Sophies, the yellow Sophies, who we now know is in the season because she won immunity. So he doesn't have any standing with her. He's never met MC prior to right now. So those three people he doesn't really have any relationship with at all. I said that Alex was in a better spot, and then we kind of disagreed because he was also kind of in the middle, and he also said, I'm just going where the numbers go. So I'm not gonna make a big move. Like this is, let's be real here. This is Jawan and Sage's move. Like this is their episode. They're the ones kind of narrating the whole episode, and they're also the ones that kind of flip on their original tribe. So this is their move. They are now perceived as big threats. And who's Savannah?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, who are Savannah and Rizzo, who by the way still have a public idol that everyone knows about? Who are they going to be scorned by the most here? Probably Jawan and Sage, because they flipped on them. And by the way, Blue Sophie still has the knowledge is power advantage. They're going to be scorned by those two. So I just think it was a rushed move. I think it was a move just to be like, hey, the merge is here. Let's play Survivor. And I don't think that's how you win Survivor. I think that's just a very rushed move that puts a target on your back with still 12 days to go in a long game. So I disagree with the move. But, I mean, ultimately, they got out my number one pick. So credit to them. Although that's not their intended target. They had to miss and go with the safe route because Sage wanted Savannah out, and they didn't even get the target out that they wanted. So they kind of misfired, but they ultimately took a shot at that side of the house, which is, I guess, what they intended to do.
It's a good move in a vacuum, but now that the numbers are 7-3, or you can do it a few different ways. You can break it into much smaller than that, but on a larger scale, it's 7-3.
Correct. That's how the votes fell.
The other side can now just look at Jawan and be like, yeah, we'll pluck him out for you guys. Like, we're still up 6-3, so it doesn't really matter if he goes. But, yeah, as an olive branch, we can take him out. Thanks for coming.
Because he's a huge threat. We don't want to put that in the end, right? They could easily do it.
Yeah, I thought it was a good move in a vacuum. I think Nate is a really good player. Well, I did until the last few episodes when I think he's really fallen down in my personal rankings. But I think he's a good player, sure. But it just felt so ridiculous that they don't understand that in a way, being on the bottom of a power alliance is better than trying to do this coup d'etat at the top of a flimsier alliance where, and this is a key point that I wanted to bring up. When Sophie was talking about their involvement, they as in Jawan and Sage, she said that they flipped. She didn't say they joined our alliance. She didn't say anything like that. She said, we have their numbers, they flipped. Yeah. And I thought that was very telling because it's not as if like, they just absorbed them. It's a new alliance. It felt like to them, they were like, oh, yeah, we're using you guys. You guys don't really understand this, but we're using you to do our dirty work. And now we're in a different position.
Yeah,
so I think
Sophie didn't even know who Jawan was. She's like, is Jawan with us? Like, I don't know. I don't know. And Sage was like, Jawan, we have Jawan. Don't worry, we have him. Like, he's flipped over with us. But they don't really care about Jawan. He's chopped liver to them. They don't care about him.
No, I think outside of Steven, perhaps, this core four of like MC, Steven, Sophie, and Christina, they're more loyal to each other than Jawan. Jawan is just a means to an end for them. So I thought Jawan, in a way, he was a focal point of this episode. He did a lot. But I thought it was a terrible episode for him in the standpoint of like,
that's
his standing has gone down the tubes out of nowhere when he had the chance to really just coast and then make the big move. And then try to keep Steven around for an episode longer or something of that nature. And then you use a Steven, you use that side. Then you take out a Nate in an episode or two. Then you try to do something like that. You try to get Alex or Sophie with an eye on your side. Then you make the move. Now is way too early with 11 people left. When you were in such a comfortable position, it just doesn't really make any sense to me.
They were foreshadowing this, and this is what I was worried about last week's episode with Jawan. They were foreshadowing him with Matt, with Jason, and then now obviously with Sage. And last week's episode, he finally did take out one of his own members in Shannon. They were kind of foreshadowing this Jawan's going to make a big move thing. And it happened on the very first merge boot. So it happened quicker than I thought it was going to happen. But I did think this was going to happen. And I think I expected him to put a huge target on his back by drawing a massive line in the sand and saying, I'm flipping sides. Because they were showing too many foreshadowing things the last 4 episodes, really 3 or 4 episodes. Jawan is kind of making some riffs in OG Uli with Savannah. She doesn't really like him very much. And Jawan at Tribal's like, yeah, I'm kind of on the bottom, Uncle Jeff. He's like admitting out loud, which is you don't really do, that he's like not really as included in the nucleus there. But it kind of was.
Do you think that was intentional, Mike? Do you think that was kind of laying the groundwork a little bit?
That would not make most tribal councils, I don't think. That's just like general. Like it just. They wanted us to know that Jawan is having some insecurities about himself. Like that wouldn't normally make an episode. I don't think. Like Survivors are like 3 hours. Tribal councils are like 3 hours long, from what I've been told. So, and you have to condense in like 10 minutes. So that made it in there. I was like, okay, why is that in there again? He's just self-aware that he might not be in the power position in that tribe. But like you said, a power position and you're not the one running the show is better than being at the bottom of 7. I mean, that's probably, I don't know if he didn't do the numbers maybe, but obviously the vote came out yesterday 7-4, which is exactly how I thought it was going to happen. I mean, obviously they had the 2 people flipped. It was not 6-5 anymore. It was 7-4. So they only had Nate, Rizzo, Savannah, and then obviously Blue Sophie. So they didn't have the numbers to do anything really. The only way they would have been saved is if Rizzo played as idols. So they were in a bad position.
Yeah, Mike, let's hold off on that just for a second because I do want to get to the challenge here, which you already described. Basic, boring, same old mergatory challenge. I was over it immediately. I thought the ball element was actually a little bit fun. This massive, gigantic ball that they look like Roman gladiators trying to just lift over these little obstacles. I thought that was pretty fun. But them trying to get up it and then do the puzzle, which seemed like the puzzle wasn't cut properly because it seemed like no one could get the pieces in. No. And because all 4 of them were struggling with it, to me, that seems like a game issue rather than a people issue. Yeah. But it was fun. Here's the only thing. I kind of can't stand the 5-on-5 element. I really can't. Like, once you're merged, I want to see individual immunity.
So stupid.
Yeah, And I'm okay if you have a man and a woman winner. I'm okay if it's the last 2, whatever. If you want to do 2 people, that's fine with me. But just don't do the 5-on-5 gimmick. I think it's ridiculous. And I think it's not fair either. Like, it just, when you see someone like MC not have a chance, it's like, okay, she's dominating this challenge and now she doesn't have a chance at individual immunity. It just feels kind of icky to me. I've never liked that element to it. But we get this showdown at the end, and I alluded to it already, between Steven and Sophie with an E. And Mike, as soon as I saw this final 2, I thought, well, they spoiled this because Sophie's barely been in the episode, so surely Steven wins this. Yeah, she's hardly in the show. All of a sudden, Sophie wins, and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. Welcome to
Survivor. You were surprised. Oh, you were surprised that she won.
I was surprised because we don't know anything about her, and she just won the first individual immunity necklace. And Mike, the reason I'm surprised is again, I mentioned this already. It's not like Big Brother. This show is edited, so this is a major moment in the show. So you would think that prior to this, they would give Sophie a little bit more airtime, so that way we're a little more familiar with the first person who wins the immunity necklace. So just over-analyzing the edit, yes, I was surprised, even though in reality, she was doing better than Steven.
Well, here's why I wasn't surprised, because in today's episode, or I should say yesterday's episode, they were showing her much more in the early portion of the episode than they usually do.
True.
I'm like, so immediately I said, why are they giving her 2 confessionals before the immunity challenge? I was like, this is a little odd. They never do this. Why would they do this? I think they're just trying to be like, hey, by the way, she's in the game too. Like they showed her reuniting with people. They're like, okay, do we have to want? Like they were showing her like kind of strategizing, talking to people. I was like, why are they showing her so much? And then they also showed her name get thrown out. So remember, they were like, should everyone just vote yellow Sophie? It'd be easier, so we only have to do a 1 Sophie. They were throwing that out there before the challenge started.
I agree with that sentiment, by the way. It'd be so much easier.
Easier, for sure. I don't want to say yellow Sophie, blue Sophie. But they were that made the edit too. So all of that thing made the edit. I was like, well, maybe she just wins immunity and saves her butt. That could just be what it is. That could be what we're playing for. And then I saw the challenge. It's usually built for smaller women, so I figured one of the Sophies would win. And when it came out of Steven and Sophie, we really hadn't got much of Steven other than he's in the Bottoms Up Alliance. So I was like, well, they're showing Sophie a lot more this episode than they ever have. Why is that? Is it because she won something? I don't know. Did she find an advantage? I don't know. But ultimately, she wins the immunity. It doesn't really matter because, like we said, the votes are what the votes are. And Sage and Jawan are the big story of the episode.
Yeah, so Sophie with an E wins, dramatic moment. At camp, it's probably the highlight of the episode, though. It is when MC has her beware advantage and she has to go get it, which we've already complained about beware advantages, but regardless, we'll play along this time because it was actually a lot of fun. So MC is like, I need some personal time, and really smart, just kind of lays there, peeks around, digs. Mike, when I was watching this, I couldn't believe that no one walks over, though.
I know.
She's like literally in the middle of the beach, and no one thinks to like, oh, I'm going to dip my toes in the water. Nothing of that nature. They're like, yeah, we'll let her be alone, which is great for her. She gets this map to a set of keys where she will try to unlock this little chest that she has that has the immunity idol in it. Out of nowhere,
oh my God,
Savannah comes around the corner and is like, MC, what are you up to? MC says something that I just vehemently disagree with. She says, when you're walked in on, you have to tell the truth or you look stupid. MC had like a few seconds where she could have just shoved that note either in her bra or in her pants. She had time to do something. She could have just said, like, I'm nervous tonight. She could have said a plethora of things. Instead, she folded immediately, which I did not like.
Okay.
And so Savannah's like, hey, do you need some help? Like, I'd love to help you. And MC's like, I guess. Like, what, am I going to say no? Like, what am I supposed to say? And then we have this cinematic moment where they both see the keys at the same time. And it was very evident that Savannah saw it first, but MC like saw her eyes. And MC, just being the athlete that she is, just immediately goes down to get it. Savannah tries to like Derrick Henry stiff armor, didn't work. And MC just burst through the tackle and dove down on the keys and got him. And the best part was, and someone made this point on Twitter, and I didn't even think about it. I mean, I did, but seeing it in writing really made me laugh. Savannah had no idea what those keys were for.
No.
Like had no idea. She could have assumed, which is what I thought in the episode. Like, yeah, she could have assumed it was something, but she didn't know. Because Rizzo's Beware Advantage was way simpler than that, which she played a part in. So she didn't necessarily know that this was Beware, if it was a punishment. She didn't know what was going on.
You could have thought it was an idol. She was like, I'm going for this idol right now. I'm going to steal it.
Yes. And I really wish she got it, because I would have been so amazed to see how would she like chuck him in the ocean? Like, what was she going to do?
Right.
Throw him down the well? Like, I don't even know what you do in that situation. You run around and you throw them somewhere. But regardless, it ends up being not that climactic, because MC just gets the keys, and it takes her a little while, but you knew that one of the 100 keys fit. So she was going to get the idol. But it was funny that Savannah was standing there watching her like a hawk. And again, Savannah could have assumed that MC got the idol, but she saw it with her own eyes, which was a key story for later. But what did you make of this entire segment?
I thought it was hilarious. I think that MC lying was, or not lying, folding immediately was just because Savannah's not the kind of person you just lie to straight up. Like, she can kind of see right through it. So I think that if it was like Rizzo walked in or somebody like kind of maybe easier to manipulate, you could probably just be like, I'm stressful tonight. I'm trying to look for something. I don't know. I'm just out here looking. With Savannah, she was like, I'm looking for a key. I just need to find a key. So just straight up, she was like, I'm not even gonna mess around with Savannah. I'm just gonna tell her straight up what I'm looking for. Savannah doesn't know what the key is for, like you said, but ultimately MC does get it. That was not the dramatic part to me. To me, the dramatic part was while she's doing this key thing, Savannah's in her ear chirping, like, hey, we can work together still. Let's do this, all right? I now know you have it. We can kind of make this our own thing. Only us can know about it. What I'm screaming at my television saying, hey, if Savannah's smart, which I think she is, she will immediately go back and run and tell her alliance MC has an idol, which she did. She told the right person, which was Blue Sophi, who, unbeknownst to her, has a knowledge is power advantage. So she tells the right person unintentionally, because she doesn't know this. Savannah tells the right person. She's like, yeah, I saw MC looking for her. She's got it. Immediately, she's got it. And they could have easily voted out MC tonight. They could have done that. I mean, that would have been my own pick, my own draft pick, but they should have done that. They could have taken out the biggest physical threat that's not a man in this game. We'll get to tribal council, but that was my biggest takeaway from the actual, cat fight that resulted in the keys. It's not that MC got the idol, because we all knew she was going to get the idol. I don't think it's even allowed that you can just kind of take the treasure chest and toss it down into the ocean or something like that. I've never seen that in Survivor, so I don't know if Savannah actually could have done that.
I would do it. It's one of those things. Say sorry after, not before. I would 100% physically hide the keys. I don't know. Like, you have to do something. You shouldn't just be able to watch the person get immunity right in front of you and not do anything about it. I just thought that was insane.
That's why Survivor had the Beware advantage. We were talking about a couple weeks ago. We were like, well, what if someone just takes the Beware advantage and takes it for themselves? Or how about this? How about Savannah just takes the treasure chest and throws it in the ocean so that it never gets played? MC can't get the idol. She sabotages her. Maybe that's why the Beware advantage is here. I have no idea. But ultimately, that did not happen. MC's a freak athlete, so she got it at the end of the day. And at that point, I think Savannah just had to watch her undo all these 100 keys and watch her ultimately get the idol, which was, as we'll get to later, played for MC.
Let's just blast through this last part before Tribal here, because I do want to spend some time on Tribal.
Yeah.
For once. It feels like we never do, but for once, this was actually interesting.
They're all predictable, Tribal.
It seems like everyone is on a different page to get a different person out right before Tribal. Yep. So Rizzo, Savannah, and Nate seemingly all on the chopping block, which is important for Blue Sophi, who we'll talk about in a little bit. So it seems like those three are on the chopping block. And they are terrified that Rizzo would play the idol on Savannah. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. But this paranoia kind of ruins the fact that this is a big move being made at Tribal. Because the big move is Rizzo. It just is. He has the idol. He's kind of dictating things more so than Nate. I feel like at this point, Nate felt like the father figure at first, but it feels like Rizzo has quickly risen through the ranks and his opinion means a lot more now. And more so than anything, who are you more worried about in an individual challenge? Rizzo, Savannah, or Nate? It's not a close competition. Rizzo, for as goofy as he is as a human being, he's a good competitor. He's a really good competitor. I argue it's MC, it's Steven, and then it's Rizzo is probably third. And then you can talk about the challenges catered more towards women, like Sophi with an I, Sophi with an E, the kind of, the puzzles, even though Sophi with an I is terrible at them, but the puzzles, the balancing, the stuff of that nature. So Rizzo's an actual good competitor. I think Alex burns out in some of these challenges a little bit, so he is good, but I think he's a little bit overrated just because he's such a physical specimen. Rizzo, on the other hand, underrated clearly because I don't think there was enough of a push to get Rizzo out of this game.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I think the right person to get out would have been Savannah. Sage wanted Savannah. I think it's just because she doesn't like her, but she's actually got the right read here in terms of Savannah's the most dangerous of the three.
100%.
Rizzo has the idol, but everyone knows he has the idol, so it's not as valuable as you think. Like he's got it, but everyone knows he's got it, so it's got.
Well,
it's like
here's the problem, Mike, and here's why it proved valuable yesterday. He's such an unpredictable person that they are terrified of him more so than the idol. They are terrified what he could do with it more so than the idol itself.
Well, the reason why Nate was the casualty, which we'll get to here, was because that they were afraid that Rizzo was so close to Savannah that he would play it on her. So
do you agree with that, Reed? Because I don't, and I thought about it a little bit. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't think it would have done that. No, I think that they could have, if they wanted to, they could have taken out Savannah, and that would have been the better move, in my opinion, than getting out old, brittle Nate, who's not going to win any of these challenges.
There's clearly like an emotional attachment there, but both are in relationships. Yeah. Both are each other's number one, but both really want to win this game. And if both are playing too hard, that means by proxy that they are playing for themselves. That's just what that statement means.
Completely agree. Yes.
So it kind of is an oxymoron. It kind of goes against its own self when they're saying these things. And in my head, I'm like, are they really going to waste this on Nate? Like, are we serious?
No. Like, that's what they're going to do here this whole episode. OG Hina was like, we got to be safe. We got to take out Nate. They're really close, those two. And Sage is actually correct in this, thinking she's like, guys, he's not playing it for Savannah. They're both playing really hard. I spent the first like 8 or 9 days on the beach with them. We can't take out Nate. Nate's like you can honestly rope Nate in. We don't really need to get rid of him. We can get rid of one of the two hardest playing people in this game, in Rizzo and Savannah, who we know are both on 50. They don't do that.
By the way, I don't think playing hard's an issue. I think that is the most like ridiculous, overstated thing in Survivor. I think it's a buzzword at this point. They're playing the game. They're not playing hard. They're playing the game. I think overplaying would be like, you can make an argument when Tony's building his hut, he's overplaying. You can make an argument when Russell's lying for the sake of lying, he's overplaying. You can't say Rizzo's overplaying because he found an idol and wants to make moves to get the opposing side that is going against him out. That doesn't make any sense. That's just him playing Survivor.
No, I agree. By the way, I think that Tony and Russell, that's just part of their strategy. I think, you can call it overplaying.
Yeah, I do too. It's the way that
they play it's the way that they play every time every season they step into. That's how they play. So it's overplaying to some people, but it's also just their tactic. Like, some people are the charmer, some people are the strategists, some people are the physical specimens. Some people build huts and, try to deceive people. It's just one of those things. That's what it is. So I don't think Rizzo and Savannah are playing so hard that they're threats because they're good players. That's really what it is. The buzzwords, whatever. I think they just flat out misfired on the person they got rid of here. And Nate was my first round pick, but I can tell you right now, and we watched the last few episodes, Nate was not the biggest threat to take out. In a first merge, if you want to draw a line in the sand, you got to take out their best player. And I don't think they even thought it was Nate. They thought Nate was a safe option. Multiple times they said, we'll just go safe route and go with Nate. They're not going to play the idol for Nate. Ultimately, they didn't play the idol for anybody. They didn't think they had to play the idol because here's the thing, hook, line, and sinker. If Sage and Jawan are doing a good enough job of, tricking their own OG Uli people that they're with them, they don't have to worry about an idol being played, because in Rizzo, Savannah, and Nate's minds, they have the advantage 6-5. So why would they play an idol? If Sage and Jawan are with us, we don't need to play anything. So Sage and Jawan almost hypocritically are like,
None of it made any sense
Let's
whatsoever.
let's go for the safe person, even though we have a chance right now to get one of their best players out, Savannah or Rizzo, who have an idol, and they're not going to play it because they're so comfortable. It's like, why are we either? If here's the thing, we've seen it a million times, guys.
But Mike, you know what that tells me more than anything? That they either didn't trust Jawan and Sage, or they didn't necessarily believe in their ability to keep this hidden. That's what that tells me. Because if they were confident in them as being allies, this would have never happened.
100%. But here's the thing. When people get voted out with idols, it's because they're comfortable enough that they don't have to play it. And
Right.
Rizzo didn't play it. Whether or not he was worried about him being on the chopping block or not, I think it's because they thought they had the numbers. Like, you could see the faces at Tribal Council. Savannah and Rizzo and Blue Sophi were all very surprised that the vote did not go the way they thought it was going to go. Like, they were legitimately blindsided. We weren't at home because we knew that the advantage was 7-4 OG Hina, because we know Jawan and Sage flipped. We have the ability to see it on our couches. They
Right.
don't. So they were comfortable. And usually when someone's comfortable with an idol, that's when you vote them out. You don't be like, you know what, we'll let you have the idol for one more week. And now you're not comfortable. So now you're going to be on edge when you want to possibly play it next week at next Tribal Council. Like, it just didn't really make no sense to me. Nate was never a threat to take out anyone on the other side because he was obviously the third on the totem pole in their own minds. It was Savannah and Rizzo. It's like, Nate's also working with them, and Blue Sophi's barely eaten. So why don't we take a shot at her? So they took out Nate, and it seemed like a misfire if you want to go big, which Sage and Jawan went big.
Let's get to Tribal here, where we'll start here. So I thought Sophi with an eye was the biggest loser of Tribal yesterday, of everyone still in the game. She knew on a good first-person account that MC had an idol. And she kept saying throughout the episode, well, I know where both are, and, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And, you never know what it's like with Rizzo. Rizzo is your ally and has shown no distinction of going after you.
Correct.
Why wouldn't you just take the other side's idol? It didn't make any sense. It would have been a good move. It would have maybe saved. There could have been paranoia from that. It could have
100%.
potentially saved Nate. It could have kind of spiraled the other side. Who knows what would have happened?
Maybe Alex jumped ship. He's like, oh wait, Sophie's got an idol. Let me go with her. It could have.
Yes, there's so much that could have came from that, and instead she sits pat, and then MC uses it. So there goes that. And while I was watching, I was like, can she play it after MC walks up? I didn't know the logistics there.
You have to ask them right when. I believe right when when Jeff asks, does anyone have an idol or an advantage? I believe you have to say, hey, MC, do you have an idol or an advantage?
So you have to beat MC to the punch, basically.
Or I believe maybe before the votes start. I think you have to ask it. I know you have to ask it at Tribal Council. You can't like my mom was texting me and she was like, why don't you just go up to MC right now while she's looking for it in the key and say, hey, do you have an idol? And just right when she ties the idol, take it from. Like, mom, you have to wait to Tribal Council to do it. So I think you have to wait to Tribal Council to do it. But I think that she just had to make sure she did it before MC stood up and said, yeah, I'm playing it. Because now everyone knows she has an idol. She's literally playing it. You have to say, do you have it, and be correct. That's why we believe the knowledge is power advantage is so overpowered.
It's ridiculous.
Because in the new era, everyone knows when someone has an idol. It's never kept secret, ever.
In theory, it's a good idea, but not with the current execution of the show. And we kept talking about that multiple times.
Correct.
But for her to botch it is even worse, because we just talked about how overpowered and easy it is, and she messed it up, which is impossible.
100%. They could have got MC's out of the game, not even out of the game, because the rules are you take it from them. So Sophi, right now, Blue Sophi has an idol. Rizzo has an idol. They both have two idols on their side of the camp. And maybe at that point, so Jawan and Sage abort mission. They're like, well, they have two idols on their side. Let's just stay with our OG Red at this point. We know Rizzo and Blue Sophi have it. So maybe they abort mission. It could have saved the numbers drastically in what's now a 7-3. If you look at it, Blue Sophi and then Savannah and Rizzo against the other 7 people that voted out Nate. It could have shifted everything, and she didn't use it properly. Now, the only time she could use it is if she wants to take Rizzo's idol from him, or if someone else gets it again. But at that point, it's not gonna be common knowledge. Like, at least with MC, it was common knowledge that she had it. Savannah was right there looking at her, getting it, and then she tells you. So you're lucky enough to get actually told information about where the idol is, and you have the knowledge is power advantage. She could have easily used it in that Tribal Council and took it from MC. Whether or not they vote out MC or not, they could have got MC's idol out and then voted out Steven. That means they take out MC's number 1, and MC is now vulnerable going forward. It would have made so much sense, but it was not executed well at all.
No, and it was just kind of frustrating because I like Sophi with an eye. She was a high draft pick for me.
Sure.
And it just felt like she missed the boat. And I felt like the entire season was kind of working up for her to use this, and I really thought it was coming. And then when it didn't, I was just so disappointed in her because I think she is a gamer, and I think she is playing hard, not in a derogatory way, just in an actually playing the game way.
Yeah.
But it felt like that was her opportunity, and she missed it. And as we've said here, MC does use her idol. Rizzo teases that he's going to use it in the most sarcastic, like young person way ever. I thought it was hilarious. I was dying laughing at this.
By the way,
he's like jingling it around like it's a set of keys.
He did it like Malcolm did it in Survivor Fans vs. Favorites. What he did was at camp, he said, you guys are with me. I'm not using it. I'm not going to use it. I want it for us moving forward, so we have it all to ourselves. He told them that at the beach, Jawan and Sage right there. And then at Tribal Council, he says, I'm playing it tonight for me or someone else, but I'm playing. I don't want to go home right now. So he almost put out like a misdirection, if you will. I didn't mind it. I also knew he wasn't going to play it. I was like, he's confident that he's going to be safe today. He thinks he has the vote, so he's not going to play the idol. But I did like that he put it out there as like paranoia that votes were not going to get thrown his way. Because if he says he's playing it, regardless of whether or not you buy it or not, and I didn't buy it, they're not going to throw votes on him. So I think he bought himself one more tribal of being safe, and he has the idol going forward. But I don't think he wanted to see one of his own members go home and Nate. So I think that it was half good, but also he got blindsided and he's at the bottom now. So it was also not very good. But he literally said at camp, I'm not using it. And then at tribal, he said he is using it. Ultimately, he didn't use it. MC does, even though he was in the majority. So interesting way of idols being played and idols being messed around. And ultimately, Blue Soapy didn't ask anyone if they had an idol. So it's just like a bunch of misdirection and no actual execution.
So Nate's a 7-4 vote. He's a casualty. He feels the least surprised of the bunch. It might have just been shock. Maybe he picked up on something right before.
Right.
But he goes out, and that's that. And we're down to 10 here. And it seems like the lines are drawn, but they're drawn in sand, no pun intended. It feels like it is 7-3 right now, and it feels like Sophie with an eye, Rizzo and Savannah are on the bottom. And the reason I say it's drawn in sand, I think depending on what could happen, Alex could flip and defect, and then that makes it 6-4. And then after that, it becomes a little bit tricky. Does Sophie with an E join them because she's already teased Ascension, and we didn't get any of that right now against Christina? So again, that felt deliberate. We talked about that last week. That felt really deliberate that they included it because Sophie with an E was not making these edits at all. Nope. So last week they were laying the groundwork. Now she wins an idol. Does she start trying to puff her chest out a little bit and try to make a resume move? I feel like right now, as a viewer, it feels like people are concerned that Rizzo and Savannah in particular were running the game, and now they are desperately trying to make these resume moves, which is why I don't think these lines are set in stone, because I feel like it just is apparent that whether it's fandom clouding the judgment, I don't know what it is, but it seems like everyone wants to make the big move, but they're scared to actually make the big move, so they're kind of going a tier or two below that, and they're flirting in those waters, and we'll see what happens beyond that. Do you think, let's start here before we do our wrap up where we talk about the future. Do you think Sage would have been in a better position if she stuck with her OG tribe and voted along tribe lines with Jawan, or do you think what she did was smarter?
No, I think what she did was smarter. I think that she is better integrated with this OG Hina than she is with her OG tribe. I think that the bad move came from Jawan. I think Sage did the right thing. I think Sage, she'd already burned ties with that entire beach. She was the one who told MC as like a goodwill of faith, hey, Rizzo has the idol. He's got it. So you can't then run back to Rizzo and be friends with him when you already told the other side. Like that could easily come out if they wanted to. If MC really wanted to bury Sage, she could have done that. And matter of fact, she already told Rizzo that Sage told everybody. So Rizzo really never really trusted Sage anyways. So there was that. Jawan, I think, was actually with them. So Jawan could have still had some standing with them. And he could have, not voted with Sage, and then he could have possibly flipped Alex back to vote with Sophie, Blue Sophie. They could have done that. Ultimately, I think that this Blue Sophie knowledge of power thing is gonna make its rounds, right? Like, did she really miss her opportunity, or is she gonna get another opportunity to put this to use? Because that's what I'm interested in here. Because right now they're down 7-3. We talked about this on this episode. They were the only three people that saved Nate and voted for Steven. Are they going to be able to use either Rizzo's idol or Sophie's knowledge of power to anything to get themselves out of this mess? Because they are on the flat bottom right now.
Well, Mike, you know what blows? And it really hit me halfway through this episode, and I didn't want to say it, but I'll say it now.
I know what you're going to say.
You know exactly what I'm going to say.
Yeah,
there's this intrigue of who's going home tonight. Nate, Savannah, or Rizzo, and they're on the bottom. What's going to happen next? I wonder. I don't know. Maybe the two people on the next season of the show, which for some reason we already know who's on the next season of the show, maybe they will somehow survive.
Correct.
Probably because they're on the next season, and that's why they got casted for Survivor 50. Is because they pulled a rabbit out of the hat. They made some masterful plan. Whatever it ends up being, that's probably why. And that's why I was so frustrated watching this episode.
I know.
Because the entire time I was like, if Rizzo gets voted out tonight and is on Survivor 50, there's going to be a mutiny against the franchise. Like, there's absolutely no chance that is happening. So now...
Rizzo gets voted out with an idol in his pocket. He's going to be brought back for season 50. No chance. It was never happening.
No chance. And now that it's 7-3, I wonder who's going to somehow overcome this numbers advantage. I wonder who's going to somehow rise to the occasion. Blue Sophie or the two people on season 50? I wonder. I really wonder.
It would have been way better shock value if we didn't know who's on the next season. Correct. 100% agree.
And again, I understand. I understand they have to shoot the season in advance. I get all of that. I truly do. They need plenty of time to edit. I respect it. It's tough to edit a YouTube video, let alone an entire episodic season of a television show. I get it.
Yeah.
But surely we could have had some NDAs or something to prevent knowing exactly who's on the next season, because it feels like this season now, even though it's getting good, is losing steam quickly because of that. Because if the entire intrigue of this season is Rizzo and Savannah overcoming the odds, that'd be great. If we didn't know they were overcoming the odds.
Right. The shock value
it would be way more of a fun viewing experience if we got to watch it unfold week to week rather than, oh, well, we already have Savannah and Rizgon earmarked for the final five, or else they wouldn't be here. How do we get there? Oh, surely some of these people have to go. It's just like, it's frustrating, right? Like, I'm not being annoying about this. This is so frustrating to me.
Exactly. For people who don't know all the Survivor leaks, right now it appears that Blue Sophie, Savannah, and Rizzo should be on the chopping block. They should be plucked off one by one, and the final seven should be the final seven. We pretty much know that's not going to happen. I don't know. Again, I don't know how it's going to get to where it's going to be, but we kind of know that the two people who are back on season 50 are not going to get voted out in 9th and 10th place. That's probably not going to happen, or they wouldn't.
I'd say at absolute worst, they make it to the top 6.
Yeah, they have
top 5, top 6 at absolute worst, if not in the final 2 chairs.
Yeah, which means that this 7 that just voted together for that one tribal council, well, it's not going to be very concrete 7. There's going to be some cracks along the lines. We saw the foreshadowing with Yellow Sophie and Christina. We saw obviously Jawan and Sage now have a big target on their back. So something's going to happen where there's going to be some cracks in that alliance. I did want to kind of compare it to season 19 Samoa, where Russell Hantz was on the bottom of the Foa. It was the Foa 4 going into a merge of 12, and they were down 4-8. And obviously the final 4 is all Foa. So they got rid of all 8 on the other side. And then he comes back for season 20. They shoot it back to back, and he's on Heroes versus Villains. And nobody knows anything about Russell because no one watched his season. They shot it back to back. They shot literally seasons back to back. So he was on there for 39 days, 2 straight times. And no one had any idea if Russell was good or not because they didn't get to watch his season. So they didn't know that he overcame a Foa 4 into the merge.
Mike, I didn't even think about this. So technically, I'm pretty sure 50 is already filmed, right?
It is already filmed.
So they know nothing about Savannah and Rizzo. No, wow.
No,
that's a good point. I mean, I knew this, obviously, but when you say it like that, it really resonates. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, so, obviously the seasons come out every 6 months, but they shoot them back to back, and then that's it for the year. So
right. So what I want to bring up here is if Savannah and Rizzo overcome some crazy odds by some crazy scheming and whatever, they can run back that same playbook for 50.
Yes,
like no one's going to know their arsenal. That is, but they have tape on everyone else.
Yes, they know Kyle and Camilla are strong, and they're both on 50.
Wow,
so they know,
that's crazy to think about. They have tape on everyone else.
Yeah,
that is in kind of an unfair advantage for them too. I never thought about it that way.
Well, it is, but there's also going to be some people like Sari was on Heroes versus Villains, and Colby was on Heroes versus Villains. Those guys did not know Russell at all, and Russell played them like a fiddle whenever he asked for JT title, whatever it was. So they're going to now know. Let's not underestimate these people who we have no tape on. Maybe they're going to be immediate targets too because they're like, let's not we have no idea what they're about.
Been there, done that. We're not going to make that mistake again.
True. It happened 10 years ago in Survivor 20 when when Russell ran the whole show. We didn't even know who he was because we didn't watch his season because it was back to back. So that could be another underline, but let's not talk about 50 because the 50 is down. It's already been shot, so we don't know, but it is down the line. But they're setting it up for Savannah and Rizzo to be the Survivor legends. Like they're coming back from these crazy odds. They're on 50, which we of course know. So they're setting it up for that. So the editing, it would be different. Like this is our first blindside of the season, and for us, the viewers, it's not huge on shock value because we knew really there's no way Savannah and Rizzo are gonna go home. They're on 50. The shock value is not there. Like we know them next season, so they have to make some kind of imprint. And you see Jeff tease it in the challenge. They're like, hey guys, there's still spots open for season 50. We're waiting for someone to make a name for themselves in this game. It's open. It's open to anyone. So,
and it took for that comment for these people to finally wake up, which is kind of gross.
That's probably why Jawan
you should have some pride of your own season and not just try to be cast again in the CBS universe here.
Yeah, by the way, immediately when Jeff said that, Jawan's like, okay, maybe time to make a move now. I got to get on 50. So that was his thought process, and he made a move way before he needed to. He was in a good spot. So I don't know if Jeff is kind of like infiltrating the game with his comments now, but it's kind of making these guys' gears grind a little bit. Unfortunately, my guy Nate was the casualty. I just think it was a misfire, and I think it was a bad move. And we, of course, know that Nate was not going to be invited back on season 50. So, of course, he's probably going to be the one that gets the that gets the casualty of the three there.
Right, exactly. So let's wrap up here. I have asked you this every week. We're going to do it again post-merge. Who's in a better position now? And who's in a worse position now? And obviously, you have three to choose from, but we know two of them are going to be on 50. So I feel like I've kind of backed you in a corner here. But who of that seven that isn't going to be on the next season? Because try to, you have to use your own hindsight that It'd be remiss not to.
Of course.
So who of that bunch do you think now is in a better position, and who of the three do you think is in a worse?
I still think, again, I could look stupid here in an episode or two. I still think Alex has like a clear path to Final Five. I really do. I think he's making good inroads. Every time they show Alex, he's kind of socializing with somebody, and no one's really wanting to vote out Alex right now. And now with this recent Jawan and Sage big threat move, it's going to be kind of like a Savannah getting scorched earth on Jawan, who we already know she doesn't like, and now he flipped on her. So they're going to have like that infighting of OG Uli, and I think that Alex can kind of, if he really plays it right, sneak a couple more episodes before he starts winning these challenges and maybe before he starts making himself a threat. I think he can get to Final Five, Final Six. I really do. And he's kind of like working underneath the shadows. He's also playing the middle, like we saw Jawan was, but he's not really the one calling the shots. He's like, I just want to go with the votes or wherever the majority is. So he's like, I don't care if I vote with my old Kala member, Sophi, Blue Sophi, or not. I'm just trying to survive another episode, which is kind of the way Sandra played, but it gets her far. So if you can buy another week, I think Alex is right now just staying out of the limelight, which is a good idea for him. I don't know if he's going to go far. I'm kind of biased because he's my draft pick, but I think he's in a better spot than people would anticipate for him being a physical looking guy.
Yeah, for me, it's Sophi with an E. I think it's not just the immunity necklace. It's not just that she's finally in the show. I think she has avenues. I think she has a real connection with Alex. And I think Christina doesn't know that they have some pending beef going on. Yeah. I think there's a world where she can kind of rope them around her finger and kind of maneuver on each side. I wouldn't say she's in the middle because she firmly has an alliance.
Yeah.
But I think she can be malleable. And I think that's important in Survivor. I don't think it's always wise just to stick with your alliance, even though I just argued that Jawan should have, because it was infinitely easier for him moving forward. Whereas Sophi, she's a threat already in the game. For whatever reason, they immediately clocked. I think they think she's the Savannah of the other side. That's what I was gathering this episode. Maybe, yeah. They think she's kind of this fierce woman competitor that, has good social standing. Whether that's true or not, I think it is. But regardless, it doesn't really matter. As long as they perceive it, that's really all that matters. But I think if she went to Savannah and was like, hey, like, rather than go against each other, like, let's do this, like, female thing. Let's kick their ass. I think that would really help Sophi's game. I really do. I don't think being under MC, Steven, even in Alex as this kind of floater, I don't think that's good for her long-term game. I think the way she wins is she keeps this mantra of kind of being on the forefront, being a strategic beast, and the only way to do that is to kind of flip the script. So that's why I think Sophi with an E, she has moves now that she can make to really further herself in the game.
I'm worried about her mouth a little bit. I think she might get in trouble because she might say something to the wrong person.
Agreed.
Just because
100% agreed.
In the only edits we've seen of her, she was so pissed that Christina even threw her name out as like a decoy to Nate, that she went to Alex and said, let's vote out Christina. So immediately she has this kind of like,
And neither of us liked that, by the way. We both were like, that's a bit dramatic.
A bit dramatic. So, but there's already like some laying the groundwork of she might be a little bit of a hothead under the wraps, or maybe a little bit, and she may tell a wrong person a wrong thing at the wrong time. I don't know. I think Steven, he lost the challenge to her in that immunity challenge. But I think Steven survives that vote. He knows people are going after him, but he's still got MC as like the bigger threat of the two, I think. And now she obviously just played an idol, so that's a big, even though it didn't really do anything, it's a big move that she's playing the game now too. So I think Steven might be in a decent spot. I'm a little bit less high on MC as I was an episode ago. She's now, it feels like she's a little bit vulnerable now in this individual portion of the game than she was more so in the tribal portion of the game. So yeah, all those original Hina members are in interesting spots. I think Sophi, if she plays her cards right, could be an easy Final Four, Final Five ticket, but I'm just not sure I'm not sure that she's that good of a player. So I really don't know. And I drafted her. So I called her the Corinne of the season. So I'm just not sure. I mean, we don't see her on the show enough. So I don't have enough of an actual sample size to say if she's good or not. But she has avenues to get far if she plays it right, which I just don't know if she will.
I'm worried about Sophi with Denai's long-term future here, because I thought not making the move at the right time was really disastrous. I think she needed something to go her way big time, and she wasn't allowed to do so. Or she didn't allow herself to do so, which I thought was a little bit odd. I really liked the fact that she tried to reconnect with Alex, and I like that she is close with Savannah and Rizzo, people in some sort of power position. I know they're on the bottom right now, but
sure.
Clearly something's going to change. So, again, using my hindsight, I like that she's aligned with those people.
Correct.
But I'd like it a lot more if she had an idol in her pocket. Because, again, if they were scared to make the big move, I don't know why they would be. But if they're scared to get out Rizzo or Savannah because of this idol that Rizzo has that he's kind of a loose cannon with, then maybe they would have went for Sophi next. And if Sophi could have sniffed that out, here's my idol, Uncle Jeff, because they all have to call him Uncle Jeff now.
Why?
Here's my idol. And then that flips the entire script again. So I think Sophi had a chance to make a big move long term and keep herself in a decent position, and she botched it.
I hope she didn't miss her opportunity. I hope another opportunity comes down the line. But now the idol's back in camp now. So who knows who gets it now? I'm talking about MC's idol's back in camp now. So the idol's back now in play. Maybe she just finds it herself. She almost found the first one on her original beach. She just kicked it to the side. She's like, I don't want to be discreet about it. But so she could maybe find it herself, and then she knows what the second one is. So maybe there's still some avenues, but it feels like she missed a big opportunity. She botched a big opportunity, but I don't think she's a big enough threat yet for her to be the next boot. So she may have another chance. I don't know for sure, but she may have another chance. Other than, again, we got to use our hindsight here because we know who's on 50. But it feels like Sage and Jawan are on a high right now, and I don't think that's going to last very long. I'm thinking that they're actually in a worse position today than they were yesterday, and they're the ones who kind of controlled the episode. And I'm saying that because I think that we have hindsight, so we know. But I don't think either of them are that long for this game.
Real quick, give me the next person voted out. Your prediction.
Next person voted out. I think it's going to be... I think it's going to be Jawan. I'm sticking with... I think Jawan's...
I agree. I don't know how it happens.
I don't either.
But it feels like based off the edit, based off the hindsight.
Yeah.
I just have that feeling that he's been getting too much of a king edit, like he's ruling the kingdom, and it's gonna come crumbling down immediately.
Yeah. That's usually when it happens. And again, right now it does not look good for Savannah and Rizzo and Sophi. But let's say hypothetically one of them win immunity. Obviously Rizzo has an idol, and Blue Sophi has the knowledge of power advantage. That feels like too much, even in a 3 versus 7, to blow. Like they shouldn't be able to blow that. So I think that they'll be able to. And again, you could certainly see a path where they laid the groundwork for it. Alex and Sophi reconnecting. I'm talking about Blue Sophi and Alex reconnecting, who are the only two left from Kella. And you could certainly see the groundwork of possibly Yellow Sophi flipping in the Jawan role, but this time flipping over, and possibly she's not purging her own. She would be purging Jawan, who she doesn't really know much about. I mean, obviously he voted for her with this tribal council, but there's some groundwork there of Jawan's on his high horse, and now nobody trusts him. Him and Sage are possibly looked at as big threats, and maybe that could be the end of their game. I don't know how it's going to happen because right now the numbers are the numbers, and it's 7-3. But someone's going to flip. We know there's going to be crumbles. There's going to be some cracks in that alliance. I just don't know who it's going to be. But my guess is that Jawan is the one that go for. He's a bigger target. You're not going to vote out Christina. You know, I mean, or Yellow Sophi, or
even Sage. It's like she thinks she's running the show, but she's still kind of on the bottom. She really is. She just doesn't really know it because she's so scorned. It's kind of clouding her judgment.
Yeah, my guess would be Jawan, and then the two biggest threats from the other side of the tribe are Steven and MC are the two biggest threats on that side, I believe. I know Sophie won an immunity challenge, Yellow Sophie, but it feels like she's got more avenues to flip than she does actually get voted out herself. Again, unless her mouth gets her in trouble and she says something to the wrong person. My very next prediction would be either Jawan, because he's the king of the cows right now, and then if it's not him, I think they would take a shot at either Steven again or MC.
Well, next week, Mike, hopefully we will be reacting live. So that was my fault, as I mentioned. Hopefully we will go live right after the episode. That means sitting through it with commercials, which is a little brutal, but we will try our best. And I'm looking forward to that as well. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Yesterday with our friend Theo, we did an amazing college basketball preview. So make sure to check that out. That should be literally uploading as we speak, as this video wraps up. But as for Mike, I'm X, and we will see you next time.